And welcome to Thrift Shop Biography. This is the one about Dick Van Dyke. Thank you for listening. Hello, Cleo.
Hello, Richard.
How are you?
I'm all right, thanks, but I've got no time to waste talking about that. Because the person we're talking about today, if we've got nearly 100 years to cover, we've got to get on with it.
Yeah, I mean like a whole century.
Yeah, I know. It's like Louis Armstrong. We read Louis Armstrong, and he got to 21. This is 5 times that long. Yeah. I think we should talk really fast.
Talk really fast like this, eh, Mary Poppins?
Oh, yeah, talk in a British accent. Shall we? Poor fellow.
Yeah, bless him. You can tell that... Oh, by the way, it's Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, Dick Van Dyke.
You can tell that his English accent in Mary Poppins... You can tell it's an issue with him because he mentions it a couple of times in the book.
Yeah, he does. He knows he's got a lot of grief.
Just as an aside, and you think, he's been hounded for that over
he
the
has,
years.
hasn't
And
he?
do you know what? Oh, here, full disclosure, I watched Mary Poppins.
You've watched it?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, do you know what? I watched it last night, actually, after I finished reading the book. And I kind of almost wished I'd watched it before because I loved him so much.
Oh, brilliant.
He's so sweet and charming. I know it's a character. And do you know what? That accent just thoroughly endeared me to him because it kind of like his...
Because he's trying.
Yeah, it's kind of is completely rubbish, but it also doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It didn't bother me at all. But I hate that he seems to have a complex about it because, of course, I think if you ask 100 people what they know about Dick Van Dyke, I reckon like 80 of them would say, "Oh, hello, Mary Poppins."
Dodgy accent.
The accent. So I feel sad
because
for him.
because it's a great performance, isn't it?
Yeah.
And did you love the film?
Yeah, I did.
You did.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not? I mean, obviously, it's not the type of film I would ever watch, but that was a good enough reason for me to watch it anyway.
Yes.
And I watched it with an open mind. I was thoroughly charmed. It was so entertaining, and it was just a vision of loveliness and colour.
Yes.
Yeah, and Dick Van Dyke and Julie Andrews and all the other people are so good.
Oh, thank God you watched it. And by the way, reading Dick Van Dyke, I have to say, I don't think I ever realised he played the old man.
No.
Mr. Dawes in the bank.
I know, hey.
I don't think I ever knew that was him. And he's brilliant at that part.
He is brilliant. He's just...
You wouldn't know, would you?
No, you wouldn't know.
Literally, if you hadn't just read this book and you just watched it, you wouldn't know.
No, you wouldn't know.
At all. And the funny thing is, he's almost grown into that old man now. I mean, he actually looks now like that old man. Because he's like nearly 100. It's amazing.
They should remaster it and actually get him to go back and play it now.
Yeah, to do it again. Yeah, without the wig.
But so, other than Mary Poppins, did you know anything else about Dick Van Dyke before you read the book?
Not a lot, no. I honestly didn't. I haven't seen Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. You're going to make me watch that now.
No, I didn't know that was him in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, right. Yeah, what I realise is he's in quite a lot of stuff I've seen, but I don't think I really clocked it was him.
It's because he's got an American accent.
Yeah, that's right. No, I think it is. And like Diagnosis Murder, I've never really watched it. I've seen it on a million times. Don't think I ever clocked that was him.
I think I might get him confused with Leslie Nielsen at some point.
Yeah. I think he's just become this whole other person in my mind, yeah.
Yeah.
I sort of know who that is, and I know who Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins is, and they're 2 different people. So yeah, this has been an eye-opener, and I totally admire him.
So should we just get into...
We better add... It's time for Dick. Oh my God.
Dick Van Dyke.
Richard Wayne Van Dyke.
Yeah.
Born, apparently, the 13th of December 1925, Illinois, so he thought. And then he leaps straight to when he's 18. I thought, why'd you leap to 18 and miss out your whole childhood? He goes, well, when I was 18, I said, I've got to join up the army when I'm 18. And his mum said, well, actually, you're already 18. Eh? And because she was pregnant before they were married. So they went to Missouri for ages, had the baby, hovered about there for a while, came back and then fiddled the date of birth to make it look like it was after the wedding. So he had a fake birthday for ages. So actually he's older than... Hang on, I hope he knows what it is now, doesn't he?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he might already
be 100. Yeah, I didn't think to double check that with the dates in the book, but I'm sure he knows now.
No. He knows now. So he's technically born in Missouri because he was on the run.
That's interesting. It kind of tells you immediately what it was like in 1925, that having a baby out of wedlock was so scandalous. They literally had to go to another state and pretend they hadn't had it yet.
Yeah, I know. It also gives you an idea of his mum and dad. They were very in love. They're gorgeous looking, the pair of them.
Young, though, weren't they?
Yeah, young. Yeah, his mum was a stenographer. And his dad, though, his dad was like Dick Van Dyke. If he'd been allowed to be, that's who he would have been. Because he had everything going for him. He had the looks, he was tall, he was athletic, he was a Major League Baseball player, and he was charming, life and soul of the party. And he played saxophone in a jazz band. You know, all the ladies loved him. And he would probably like to have gone into showbiz. Did you get that?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And then because he got this girl pregnant, he had to get married and get a job, and it sort of killed all his dreams.
Yeah.
And so then Dick Van Dyke became the man that he would have been, basically.
Yeah, I totally got that. I mean, he accepted the responsibility of being a father, didn't he?
He did.
And so then, yeah, he had to get a job. He was a salesman for a cookie company. He hated it, but he did it because he supported his family. But yeah, I think there is some resentment occurring, which we don't find out about until much later in the book, actually.
You don't, do you?
Dick Van Dyke does paint the picture of it being a pretty regular upbringing in childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was away a lot.
Yeah, he worked all week, and then the weekends he was playing golf or hunting, so he just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Total absent
There
father.
you go, you see. So he's working away. Yeah, that shows you he took the responsibility of bringing up this child, but actually he kind of almost wanted no part of it because he was never there.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I guess a lot of dads were like that in the 1920s, 30s, right?
I guess so, yeah.
But actually, do you know what? The mother as well, because Dick Van Dyke said when they had him, they put him in his cot at night and then they'd go off to the cinema and leave him on his own.
Yeah.
And then they had another kid like 5 years later and they would leave 6-year-old Dick to look after his little baby brother Jerry, and they'd go out on the town. They'd leave those two kids on their own. And Dick Van Dyke, he says, you know, he excuses them because he said they were young. But I think even young people know you can't leave a baby on its own, don't they?
Right, this comes up a lot. It's a different era. This helicopter parenting era we're in now. Everyone's over scared.
When he was 6 and he started school, it was a 6-mile trolley ride away, and he did that on his own. Now, when we read Louis Armstrong, I was really appalled that he would be sent out to go shopping at the age of 5. But actually, this is exactly the same era here.
Yeah.
And they're letting a 6-year-old take himself to school.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
Yes, it's gone the other way now. They were fine. They were fine.
Well, apart from the ones that got murdered.
Stop it. Stop it. Oh, I can't. Right, anyway, so it's the 1930s and depression hits, but he says everyone was poor and everyone was in debt, but they weren't so bad off because his mum's granddad had a grocery store and owned the house they lived in. So they had free food and free rent. So they actually were probably a bit better off than everyone else.
It is a really solid family because both sets of grandparents are in the same town. And quite often, even as Dick Van Dyke is kind of growing up, he can rely on them as well as his parents. So it's a pretty solid upbringing he had, actually.
Yeah, and then he had one of those things where he goes away for 1 year and it reset him. Because the best thing that ever happened to him is they asked him if he would join this race against college boys. He's about maybe 15. The college boys are older. And he joined the race and won it. I've seen him talking to Ted Danson on a podcast thing about this. This is like the best thing that ever happened to him. Yeah. Yeah. And it made him confident and made him popular. And it changed his life, changed his mindset. It's like he saw himself in a whole new way that he could be someone just from this one race. Yeah, he's got lanky legs too, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a wide stride.
Yeah.
He probably finished the race in less steps than other people.
Exactly.
But no, when you're young and you've beaten the older kids and everyone's cheering and I understand how that really made him confident.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but then the doctor told him he had a heart murmur and he couldn't race anymore. So that was that. And they moved back home. But so he's really into religion. He's looking for answers, basically.
Really into religion.
Yeah, so he decides if he can't run, he'll become a minister. And he was on that path when he sort of sidetracked to the drama club.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
I mean, being a minister is kind of like being an actor anyway, isn't it?
Kind of is, actually. It is showbiz, yeah. You've got to perform.
No, it's a form of performance, yeah.
Yeah, you've got to connect with your audience, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he found the material of being a minister. He kind of lost the will a bit. And then, he kind of sidetracked into the drama club.
Yes, because one idol could be Jesus, the other one could be Stan Laurel.
Yes.
Who's it more fun being?
Stan Laurel.
Stan Laurel.
Well, Jesus had his moments, didn't he?
Well, I mean, a lot of them were more painful.
Oh, okay.
But he doesn't get off the cross once you're on it. Whereas Stan Laurel always gets back up again.
Don't think I ever saw the Laurel and Hardy where they got crucified.
No.
There's another 5 mess you got me into.
Oh, Stan Laurel. Yeah, it was his idol.
Yeah.
See, I didn't realise all of the comedy that he ended up doing very soon after this, but it's very vaudeville. You can see Stan Laurel and Lauren Hardy come from vaudeville, don't they? They are vaudeville, just filmed. So, yeah, all that falling over and slapstick and stuff became a massive part of his life.
And this is the era as well of Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton and stuff, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So when Dick Van Dyke gets into like this little troupe with other young men, they call themselves the Burfords, and there's 4 of them, and I think they're kind of telling jokes and singing, harmonizing, and telling stories, but they're looking towards these comedy heroes, aren't they? So I guess that's like a little vaudeville troupe they're developing, isn't it?
It is, really. Yeah.
Oh, and he says that one of the boys in the troupe has this younger cousin called Gene who is constantly pestering them to get involved. And they're like, no, go away. You're too young. We don't want you as part of our troupe.
Go away, little kid.
Part of our troupe. And it turns out that it's Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. And he says years later he ran into him. He's like, yeah, if I knew you were going to turn into Gene Hackman, I would have let you hang out with us.
Wow. And this is just a sleepy little town in the heart of America. It's not
it's
like...
a weird coincidence.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. So, he gets a really cool job when he's 17 as an announcer in the local CBS radio. He calls it announcer, but it's basically a DJ, isn't it? He's playing records, he's talking, he's announcing the weather, the news, adverts, he's just doing everything.
Yeah.
Coolest job in town. Of course, everyone's going to think you're cool as hell by then.
For sure.
He never says it, but there's no way he didn't have girls all round him. There's no way he didn't.
Oh, I was surprised at how good looking he was when I watched Mary Poppins. He's got the nicest face. I think because that
really
character is not like a romantic hero, you don't think of him in that way.
Yeah.
But actually, if you look at his face, he's honestly, he does have the looks of like a film. If he was cast in a romantic role, he would totally be thought of as a handsome Hollywood matinee idol, I think.
Yeah, and then he joined the Air Force because he was so worried about being drafted, because this is, where are we now?
We're in 1942, so the war has started and America's kind of, having to get involved at this point.
Yes, exactly.
So they're drafting the young Americans.
Yeah, well, he was so worried about being drafted and ending up in combat that he decided to sign up to the Air Force because he thought he'd take control. And it was brilliant because he didn't do any fighting at all. He ended up being in the special services, actually running the radio for the base. So he just had the brilliant war. He didn't have any trouble at all. And in fact, the airbase radio was in town. So he left the base every day and went into town in his uniform, which girls would swoon over, you could only imagine. Yeah. I mean, he must have lived it up.
He doesn't tell us that he
never does.
That he shagged all the ladies.
No, he said girls love the uniform. That's the only thing he says. Girls love the uniform. Is enough said.
They love a bit of dick, don't they? Damn it, I've let myself down.
Yes, they do. Someone had to.
20 minutes in and the first dick joke. Okay, let's keep going.
So yeah, he got back when he was 20. War ended, 1945, and he's back home and he gets his radio job back and he starts to date the local girl, Margie. The rest is history. There, that's his wife for
quite a long time
until it wasn't.
Yeah.
You'd say most people that'd be a lifetime, but because he's lived about 3 lifetimes, it's like the first third. That's the mother of his 4 kids to come.
So he's so switched on because he's on the radio show, but then he gets in with his friend who sells advertising. And so they opened an office together where they would sell advertising for the radio show that Dick Van Dyke presented. Which, as a side note, Cleo, this is something we need to do with this podcast, but we'll talk about that when we stop recording.
Yes, that's so true.
So that, he is thinking of the bigger picture and how he can monetize stuff. Because, of course, he's married now. No, he's not married, sorry.
He's not married yet, but he wants to be married, but he can't afford it. He can't actually afford to be married.
Yeah.
So he does need money. So he's thinking of that. He's thinking sensibly about being a sensible man, but still trying to do what he loves.
Yeah. In the arts. I do love people that kind of do. See, this is what his dad didn't do.
Yes.
His dad gave everything up to have a proper job. Whereas Dick Van Dyke... Do you know why? You know why Dick Van Dyke is doing this and really making sure that he can monetize his creative aspirations is because he saw what it did to his dad having to give them up.
He saw it crush him.
So I've just made that connection in my head.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
At some point in this book, he says he went to see Death of a Salesman, Arthur Miller play. And, and I've seen it. I hadn't remembered what it was about, but he said, I was depressed for months because that was my dad. And he's really depressed, that man, in that play. So, yeah, definitely. He's doing it because his dad didn't.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't know it.
Because he does, we'll find out as this goes on. But I think most people would have given up where Dick Van Dyke keeps going.
Yes.
And also at this time, so he's doing his radio show and he's doing it 5 days a week. But, television is becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Lots of people think it's going to be a flash in the pan, but Dick Van Dyke is kind of like, no, I think this is, the way forward. And so he thinks he can be an announcer on the TV and he writes letters and he goes in to see people, but they kind of don't like him straight away. So he doesn't end up working on TV, but it is an ambition of his.
Yet. So then, this, Phil Erickson comes to town. He had a trio, they sort of lip sync to popular songs, and it's like a novelty act. It sounds hilarious.
Yeah.
And he got the job straight away as a replacement. They were called the Merry Mutes, and they had gigs in California, so off he goes. And they were, all right paying gigs. They were getting by. And he kept saying, he has to send for Margie, but he couldn't afford to get married. Then he found this radio show that they would pay for the wedding and the honeymoon. They had 15 million listeners to this radio show. Amazing. And so, he got Margie over and they got married on that and then went skiing. They've never been skiing before. It was really great. So there they are now. They're married. She's getting pregnant. This is serious. There's 2 books this reminds me of. Steve Martin. His is, I think, the best ones so far of really describing a comedian's life, because he really describes the work and the bits and the travel and the worry from gig to gig and money to money. And also Gypsy Rose Lee. Just the way you go to a gig and you've got nothing left and then you get another offer and that includes lodging and you're saved, but you're only saved for that month, and you can save a bit of money and then when's the next one coming from? He was living that life for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Basically. Traveling around America.
He's kind of playing clubs and stuff, right, in this duo with Phil, a little kind of entertainment duo. But this is the era of vaudeville, but he's not talking about theatres. Is it still vaudeville? This is after the war now, actually.
Yes,
so are we coming out of vaudeville and we're going into the club circuit, right?
Yes, it's the one morphs into the other, doesn't it?
Yeah, because he's talking about cabaret rooms and stuff. But you're right, you know what? Yeah. He'll finish one and then there's nothing. And then he'll get another, but it's 5 states over, and they go.
Yeah.
It's really chasing that work, isn't it? Constantly.
It really is. And he meets young Liberace on the road who said he has talent. Things like
Vegas.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all there coming up, aren't they?
They are.
And it's the people that, these are the people that will eventually end up on this new thing called TV.
That's right.
That's how they establish themselves. But at this moment in time, before TV has really taken off, they're just slogging it away in all these little dirty clubs.
They really are. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was, on that circuit, there were people, a few times where people said, you're the talented one. Can we just have a solo show? But he didn't want to betray his mate.
Just use him on his own.
Yeah. But he felt really bad betraying his mate.
Yeah.
And one of them, he was thinking about it. And then someone said to him, they're the mob. You don't want to get in with them. So he made really, really polite excuses and got out of that.
Well, they offered him an unusual amount of money, like £15,000 a week.
Yeah.
And they weren't even getting £100 between them before.
Yeah, right.
Dollars, sorry. But what I don't get, what's the motivation for the mob to get these performers and keep them and pay them loads of money? Well, how did the mob benefit from that?
I think they just own you after that.
But to what ends? I don't get it.
Good point. I don't know.
Yeah, I found it's all very weird. I wondered whether it's like money laundering or something.
Oh, maybe.
Because if they're paying 15,000 a week,
We'll have to read a mob book.
yeah, we'll need to read a mob book.
Yeah. A Vegas mob.
Of course, they used to own all of these clubs because, like Liberace talked about the mob and Frank Sinatra.
Exactly.
They all came up through these clubs at the same time.
Yeah, Vegas and Reno, and Miami. That was Miami, that one, yeah. Yeah, they did. But that's the same as Gypsy Rose Lee, the characters she ran into.
Yeah, right.
It's so criminal. It's that showbiz criminal fine line or no line at all. All right, we'll seek out mob books. So he gets this job. He's at CBS Radio for a bit, then he gets a TV station gives him a job of an announcer again on the news and commercials, and eventually they give him an hour show of his own. But he's like, I remember Steve Martin saying this as well. You suddenly realise how your material doesn't go 5 minutes and you run out.
Yeah.
You suddenly have to produce tons of material. It got him absolutely frantic. He interviewed people, he did comic takes. He ended up sculpting clay whilst he's telling jokes and miming hit songs. Absolute madness.
This is live TV as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy to imagine it. An hour a day.
So just complete improvisation, really.
Yeah, it's really next level. And what a grounding. Because after that, you can come up with anything. You can do anything.
Yeah.
Nothing's hard after that. And he says that it was all encompassing. He even painted scenery at the weekends. He was almost possessed. You can imagine
So Margie's having babies and stuff, isn't she?
Yes.
So we're in the 50s now, because we're rattling along in this long old life.
Yes, we are. But we have to. And another TV job he gets, they try and make him go solo. And so he ended up taking a job in New Orleans instead of betraying his friend.
Yeah.
But that sounds really cool because the TV station's right in the heart of the French Quarter in New Orleans. So he was having a good time there.
Yeah, and this is good money. And again, like, he's really kind of, doing the responsible thing by his family. Because at this point, when they're in New Orleans, they have their third child, which is their daughter.
Yes.
So he's really made it work for him, this entertainment career. With that whole time where they're kind of going between all the clubs and their cars are breaking down and they're getting turfed out of their lodgings. It's so hard. At every single point, I'm thinking, why don't you just go and get a proper job?
I know.
But he just keeps going, and that just feeds back to the dad thing.
Yes.
And then eventually it comes good. And now he's in New Orleans with a TV show. He's able to buy a house. He's on good money. He's supporting his wife and 3 children. I mean, it's amazing that he did that.
Yeah, and doing what he loves.
Just the drive and the belief, isn't it?
Yeah, he's living the dream. And right, it's that what you know, who you know thing. When he was in the army and he got that job on the radio, he got it because the bloke who was running the radio station came in the urinals, when he was having a waz, stood next to him, started having a waz and went, all right then, what you got? Give me do your bit. And it got him to sort of audition whilst they were standing next to each other having a waz.
Was he soliciting dick in the urinal?
He was. In the toilet. Yeah. It's called Bill.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Oh, it's so weird. Why would you do that? It's called Bill something, Ryman or something.
Byron Paul.
Byron Paul, yeah. He ended up being the director at CBS, which is unbelievable. So, it's that friend from the army sort of thing. So he recommended Dick Van Dyke when they suddenly had an opening for a presenter of the morning show. Yeah, they got him to come up to New York, and at the end of when they were recording some sitcom or whatever, they got him to come up and do his bit in front of that audience at the end of the night, and everyone was falling about laughing. They totally loved him. And he's got the job. So now they all have to uproot to New York, but it's a 7-year contract, 20 grand a year. And he was on 10 grand a year. And this is 1955, so
yeah, wow.
Bloody good. I'd be pretty happy with that now, to be honest. But yeah, so he's really made it now.
Yeah, but he kind of is all right reading the news and stuff, but he's also having to interview people, like doing serious interviews with politicians and stuff, because it's the morning show. It's effectively a news show. And he kind of finds it a bit awkward, really, because he is essentially a comedian, a clown, an entertainer.
Yes.
So they kind of try him with different things, and he's the anchor on the morning show for like a year. But then they move him to a Saturday morning cartoon show where he's interacting with the cartoon characters and stuff. And then they get him on a panel show. They're really trying him in lots of different areas. But actually, after 3 years, they kind of don't really know what to do with him. So they terminate his contract. So they really did kind of, invest in him and tried him on everything. 3 years is a long time, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. And he must
out.
have done tons in that time as well. But then they sort of, he felt pushed out, didn't he? I think someone took his office or something. But that's when he started drinking.
Yeah.
He'd never drunk before. Couldn't hold it. And it escalated, and that's going to happen, isn't it? Well, it's amazing it took him that long.
Yeah.
But I guess he was doing guest parts on the show. He was like guest on the Phil Silvers show. He did a TV quiz show with Carol Burnett.
Yeah, that sounded like Give Us a Clue. What was it called? The pantomime show. And him and Carol Burnett teamed up as a pair. Yeah, they did really well. So yeah, he's getting to be on all these little quiz shows and sitcoms.
It's a small world.
Yeah, certainly is then, because this is the beginning of TV. It's even smaller than we think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, Julie Andrews did a lot of stuff with Carol Burnett, and they haven't even met yet on Mary Poppins. So it's all really there's a really small gang of people that are coming up together.
But he's also he's on TV and he's doing these little bits here and there. But he's also auditioning for plays in the theatre.
Yeah.
He's kind of covering all bases. And then he gets this job on this musical review, like a comedy sketch review called Girls Against the Boys. And they start off in Philadelphia. This is 1959. And then eventually they move to Broadway. So it's a success, but it only lasts it closes after 2 weeks. But you know what? He's being employed. The stuff that he does well, like the comedy and being entertaining, all of these game shows, bit parts on sitcoms, and now he's in a comedy review. He's hit his stride.
He's getting seen, yeah.
It's what he started off doing. They kind of tried to make him a newsreader. Didn't quite work. Now he's getting back to what he's good at, and people are getting to know who he is.
Is this when he gets cast on Broadway in Bye Bye Birdie?
Yeah.
Because I think that was the thing that rocketed him.
Now, tell me about Bye Bye Birdie, because do you know it? Because I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
No.
Oh, I thought you would know. Isn't it a musical?
Yeah, but I've never seen it. But they said it was stories about sort of a parody of when Elvis went into the army and all the girls went devastated. So there's some sort of parody about that, apparently.
Okay.
I googled Put on a Happy Face, because that's the song that sort of rocketed him to fame and became a hit. Because in those days, if you had a hit in a musical, it went in the charts, didn't it? People bought the records. I watched it and it looks exactly like a Fred Astaire film. He even sort of danced a bit like Fred. I mean, not as graceful. You can't beat Fred. So if of its time, the bit on YouTube is from the film where they replaced Cheetah Rivera with Janet Leigh.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a bit awkward. This is 1960. 2 years later, they put it onto film, but they switched them around. But then there's a young girl in it who was Anne Margaret, and she totally eclipsed Janet Leigh. And they caught her one day. They came in and she was sat on the director's lap, and they were just looking at each other. Basically, we've got no chance. You can't fight that. And so they cut loads of Janet Leigh out and gave her loads more parts.
Janet Leigh was furious.
She's livid.
Because what had happened, what they didn't know until they saw the film, Anne Margaret had a new song at the beginning of the film and another song at the end of the film.
Yeah, that they just randomly added on.
And so Janet Leigh is like, what the hell? Yeah. Director just created a whole new thing for Anne Margaret, because he was besotted with her. Of course, everybody's besotted with Anne Margaret. But poor Janet Leigh thought she had a big role. She's completely sidelined.
Exactly. And I guess that's...
Hey, that's show business.
That is showbiz, because Janet Leigh's from the 50s and Anne Margaret, epitomised the 60s, the youth culture. She did, because it was only 2 years later that Viva Las Vegas came out with Elvis, and she's the energy of her and the beauty. And that's the 60s, By the 70s, she's just Elvis's ex-girlfriend.
But no, but she wasn't a girlfriend, was she? She wasn't a wag. She wasn't an Elvis wag.
They did have an affair.
Oh, is that well documented?
Yeah, and they stayed friends forever.
I don't ever think of Anne Margaret in the same way, because she has her own career, and
that's very true.
Whereas the others, kind of, their career is being an Elvis girlfriend.
That's true. Yes. But anyway, it's all very incestuous.
I think part of Dick's charm is that he is tall and gangly. And, you said he's not quite as good as Fred Astaire. Of course, nobody is.
Nobody.
But I think, when he first started off in Bye Bye Birdie in the theatre, the producers didn't want him because he couldn't dance as well as the others. And he couldn't sing as well as the others.
No.
But the director really fought for him, said, no, keep him in. Because honestly, he's a character and he's going to do really well. So the producers didn't want him, but the director did and fought to keep him in. And actually, when you watch Mary Poppins, for example, which is the only reference point I have, obviously he doesn't dance and sing as well as Julie Andrews, like nobody does. But that's also part of the charm of the character,
Yeah.
That he is tall and lanky.
He's relatable.
Yeah.
He's an everyman. That's why they cast him in the Dick Van Dyke Show, because they said he's not too good looking, he's not too anything. He could be you, sort of thing.
So we should get on to the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yes, we should. Oh, Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah, so actually what's interesting is that wasn't written for him. That was Carl Reiner had written this amazing sitcom and they were shopping it around and it was really in development for a long time, and they tried lots of different people, and then eventually it was one of the producers had seen Dick in the first review he did, Girls Against the Boys on Broadway, and then he'd seen him in the theatre in Bye Bye Birdie, and he said, do you know what, there's just something about this guy, I think he can carry our show. And so they got him in. And you're right, they actually said that part of the reason they booked him is because he was this everyman. He walked a bit funny, he was average and ordinary, and that's exactly who they needed for this part. So they signed him up. He got $1,500 an episode on a new... Well, it's only a pilot at this point, by the way. It wasn't the amazing...
That's true.
They still had to do it and prove it and get taken on by the network.
Yeah. But yeah, then it seems like he brought loads to it, because basically he does call himself a clown a lot. And he brought all that stuff, that Laurel and Hardy sort of stuff or Charlie Chaplin, where you come in and fall over, you trip over the mat. He's very physical, and everyone would be wondering when he was going to fall over or trip. And so he brought a lot of that to the part, very, very physical. He's basically said they ended up playing themselves because they wrote it around them. They'd come in and talk about the night before or their home life, and they'd write episodes around them. 39 episodes a season.
Did you know who played his wife?
Mary Tyler Moore.
Did you know that? I didn't know that until I read this.
Well, I don't really know much about her.
So that's her beginning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, but she's massively famous in America.
I know she's a massive name, yeah. But
yeah, I didn't know she started off on the Dick Van Dyke Show.
No. She comes up a bit in Julie Andrews as well, see? There's a lot of crossover.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But, she's gorgeous. She's absolutely gorgeous. I've watched a bit. I like the way they say that they made it timeless. They had no references to anything that was happening at the time. So that you can still watch it to this day, and it will just be about people. Mm-hmm. People going to work, people making breakfast, and it's sort of family, it's family oriented.
Yeah, for sure. It's like a real forerunner of shows like Everybody Loves Raymond, I suppose.
Yeah,
it's the same format, but 50 years before. And what I find really interesting, that it's got the green light after the pilot and they're filming it. But as they're filming it, they're still working stuff out and they don't have a title for it yet. And through the filming and seeing how the audience react to Dick Van Dyke and stuff. So there's these names, I've forgotten them now, but All in the Family Man. And they just weren't happy with any of them. And they said, let's call it the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah.
And he's not really a known quantity at this point, certainly not on TV.
Yeah, he's not at all.
I thought that was a really confident move to name it the Dick Van Dyke Show, because who's going to tune in specifically to watch Dick Van Dyke? You don't really know who he is, but they do it and they launch him, and he was such a big entertaining thing that they went with it, and well, the rest is history, isn't it?
Yeah, so one of the blokes in it, the actors in it, Jerry Paris, he ended up directing most episodes of Happy Days, over 200 episodes, and he spent his whole time there watching and learning. And another bloke in it, forgotten his name, it's like Moray or something, he wrote Rum and Coca-Cola, the song.
I don't know Rum and Coca-Cola.
Do you know? Oh, it's a brilliant song.
What's it from?
The Andrews Sisters sing it.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, it's just a pop fact.
So look, they had a great time and it was really popular and everybody loved it, but CBS cancelled it after the first season.
Yeah.
Even though it was really well reviewed. And it's because it was put up against the Perry Como show.
Yeah, they didn't stand a chance.
So the show is cancelled. That's when he goes off to do the movie of Bye Bye Birdie. But then what happens in the summer, they rerun the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah.
And it becomes really popular because it's not up against Perry Como. It's a different time slot.
Yes.
And the reruns, everybody watches it. It's really popular. So CBS say, okay, let's give it a second season. Isn't that what happened to Star Trek? You know, we read Leonard Nimoy.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That was cancelled, wasn't it, after a couple of seasons? And then there was a whole 7 years where they didn't make it, but they kept re-showing the old episodes, and then it just grew and grew.
It's backed by popular demand. Yeah. The audience has power.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dick Van Dyke Show gets a second season.
Yes, that's
right. And then
right.
it's popular. They get a different time slot and they get into the top 10. And so now it's a proper part of the televisual landscape of 1950s America.
Yes.
And it's making big stars out of Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And it's 1961 to 1966. And as a side note, after it finished, he got loads of work, but she didn't. So he did a TV special and he really featured Mary Tyler Moore in it on purpose to show how hilarious and talented she was. And the next day after it aired, she got her own show. So he really helped her because he loved her. Actually, he actually said when they came back for the second season, they couldn't stop giggling and they thought they were really wasting time. So he actually went to a psychiatrist to find out why. The psychiatrist said, "You've got a crush on her." And he had never thought of it.
Yeah.
Because he's happily married. There's a few times, because he was working with Cheetah Rivera and they giggle a lot. So I think, well, he probably had a crush on her as well. He's not in touch with that side of himself.
Yeah, I thought that was really cute.
He definitely absolutely loved her, like his other wife, you know. He didn't cheat on his wife, he says, but he loved her.
His wife used to come and watch the taping of the Dick Van Dyke Show, and she said, "Oh, you're exactly like you are at home."
Yeah.
And so presumably he's exactly like with Mary as he was with Margie at home.
Yes, exactly.
And that's got to be hard for Margie, hasn't it?
Yeah, so you got a show wife and a home wife. Yeah, it probably does. I think a lot of this adds up to the reasons why she wants him to retire and just stick around.
Yeah, because she's got 4 kids now. She's at home and she kind of eschews the Hollywood life to a certain extent. She's not really into the award shows or anything.
Yes, she's never been interested.
Yeah.
No, she's not interested at all. And there's lots of pictures of her and she's got shortish hair. She doesn't wear makeup. She's quite pretty though. But he says a lot of people used to get her confused with my brother. Think she's my brother or something. Or sometimes my mother.
But also, let's not like the Dick Van Dyke Show is so hugely popular that actually most people do genuinely think that Mary Tyler Moore is his wife.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
So if they see him with Margie, his actual wife, people don't think they're married because they think he's married to Mary Tyler Moore.
Yes, that is absolutely true.
But it's a bit of a kick in the teeth for people to think it's his brother.
Yeah. But Mary Tyler Moore's got so much makeup and she's so beautiful. So it'd be really hard to compete. You're like the dowdy version of his on-screen wife.
Yeah.
It must be really hard. The only time she gets excited is when somebody in the cast starts going out with Frank Sinatra and they get to go around to the house and Frank cooks them up loads of spaghetti and makes them all drinks. And it's the only time he's like, but you never get bothered about famous people. She goes, yes, but this is Frank Sinatra.
Imagine having Frank Sinatra cook you dinner. That would
Cook
be
you
amazing.
Italian dinner and mix you up cocktail.
Yeah.
I know, I love that. I love that he did that. I remember Quincy Jones saying that. He used to come round in the morning and make him breakfast, make Quincy scrambled eggs for breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Wow.
It'd be very cool to be Frank's friend. Yeah. Not his wife, but his friend.
But, you know, saying that his wife wasn't so turned on by Hollywood, well, actually, Dick wasn't either, to the extent that he loved the work and he loved hanging out, but he wouldn't really go to the Hollywood parties and let his hair down. He wasn't part of that whole celebrity circuit. He wasn't in the gossip papers or anything, because he's still very much a family man. He still goes to church on Sundays. He's got a very clean cut image, and that's exactly what brings him to the attention of Walt Disney.
Yeah, that's true. And he's actually made it public that he only wants to do family shows. He doesn't want anything dodgy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why he gets cast as Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins. He's Julianne.
Which I think we've already covered. We can't...
Yeah, but I just think it's interesting how Walt Disney actually went to see Julie Andrews in the theatre, because we've just read Julie Andrews' book as well. And he totally cast her,
Yes.
like with no screen test or anything. He's just, Julie Andrews is going to be Mary Poppins.
That's
and he's
right.
done the same here. He really likes Dick Van Dyke, and he cast him as Bert straight away.
Yeah, he's got a vision. I think they said he had the book for like 15, 20 years or something. He'd been working forever to try. So he knew these people inside out, and he knew who they were. Yeah, it's really great. That's why it works so well.
Do you know what? He said that working with Julie Andrews, he said, my diaphragm ached from laughing all day.
I know.
Which is amazing. But now you just brought up the fact that he was giggling with Mary Tyler Moore and Cheetah Rivera because he fancied them. He basically had the horn for Julie Andrews as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and because it was suppressed, because he's happily married, it came out in giggles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Dick's got the horn for Julie. Oh, they have such good chemistry.
They really do, yeah. And she sounds
it's
great.
Delightful.
He sells her better than she sells herself.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's like a premiere, Grumman's, whatever it's called,
Chinese
the Chinese theatre
yeah.
in LA, the premiere, and it's so exciting, it's so glamorous. Whereas all you get in Julie Andrews' book is, I was so troubled because my mum my dad, and they were in the middle of a divorce, and I was so worried about this and that. She was so worried through most of her life of things she should have been enjoying so much. Whereas Dick Van Dyke's enjoying it all. He seems to be, anyway.
Yeah.
There's only one time when he gets upset and falls out with people, and that's Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That's the only time he gets upset. Of course he's drinking. There's lots of things going on underneath.
Yeah.
But I tell you this, right? I absolutely love that he dedicates a part of this book to talking about his idols. And his idols, he said that's the best thing about fame for him, is that he got to meet Stan Laurel, Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, all of his legendary idols. And he got to meet Stan Laurel. He looked in the phone book. I wonder if he's listed.
Yeah.
And he was. And he phoned them. He finds Stanley Laurel, phones the number. And it's his wife. Oh, go and get him. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And he's able to say, I'm Dick Van Dyke. And he knows who he is. And he says, come over to the house. And they get to be friends. And he passes on some wisdom. And I cut out the soles of the shoe so that it made my feet turn up. Just little tidbits like that made him understand. And it's real clowning. And like he said, he did an impression of Stan Laurel on one of his variety shows and then phoned him up to see how he'd done. And he gave him 40 minutes of notes while still saying it was the best impression of him he'd ever seen. But you should have done this, you should have done that. But like actually really valuable notes that he wishes he'd written down. It's just brilliant. They were friends to the point where his wife, when he died, got Dick Van Dyke to do the eulogy.
Yeah.
And then months later, Buster Keaton died and he did his eulogy as well. It's all the same people at the funeral.
Yeah.
It's really cool. He gets to meet some original Keystone Cops. It's just such a homage to old Hollywood. People who really admire the history is partly why they're so good,
Yes.
They respect it.
Yeah.
And then I watched this chat with Ted Danson, and Ted Danson's hero was Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You see it carrying on. He's hanging on his every word. It's really nice.
So, yeah, he does this film called Lieutenant Robin Crusoe about a guy who's shipwrecked who has a chimp companion.
Yeah. Oh, it's sad.
And he becomes friends with this chimp. And he says when he turns up, this chimpanzee is drinking coffee and smoking a cigarette. And Dick Van Dyke goes up to the trainer and says he shouldn't be smoking. And the trainer says, well, neither should you. And he says from then on, every morning, he brought the chimp a cup of coffee and he lit a cigarette for him.
Yeah. They sat there together having a coffee and a fag.
Wow. But then this chimp started playing up and he noticed that the trainer was beating him and it all goes a bit dark. And then the chimp...
Yeah, it gets really dark.
The chimp goes off to work on Tarzan and he bites somebody in the face. I shouldn't be laughing because animals do not belong on film sets.
Oh, yeah, and ends up in the zoo.
Ends up in a zoo, yeah.
No, it's really sad. It's really sad. He's obviously so intelligent. He said it to the point where they were having lunch together as well. They just totally got on.
Of course, they're so similar to us.
That's right.
Yeah.
But he's living the life, and then he ends up in a zoo, and when he visits him, he says the chimps look at him going, what am I doing here with all these chimps? Get me out of here.
Of course,
I'm a human sort of thing. Oh, no, it's really sad.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, the Dick Van Dyke Show got 4 Emmys. Let's throw that in there. It was extremely popular. And I imagine if you're American, You know and love it, and this is why he's a national treasure. That's the foundation of it.
Ran for 5 seasons, didn't it, in the golden age of television? Yeah.
Yeah, so Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, right? He doesn't want to do it. He thinks it's inferior. It's an Ian Fleming novel that's turned into a film, and Roald Dahl's script.
Yeah, and Cubby Broccoli produces it. I had no idea it was so close to James Bond.
I didn't know that either.
I mean, I would love to see a crossover where James Bond is actually going around in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, hey, hang on. One of the Bond songs is called Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Do you think this is a knowing nod to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
Ooh!
Yes, it has to be, doesn't it?
Yes, I do now.
Yeah.
It has to be. Yeah. But Roald Dahl, at the same time that he wrote the script for that, he wrote the script for You Only Live Twice. I think that's right. Because whilst they were filming, they went to see the premiere of that, and that's when they met the Queen.
Do you know what? I hated reading about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang because I just remember it as a really good, fun childhood film. Again, I haven't watched this in 30 years. And I hate, actually, well, he didn't want to do it, but they offered him so much money because they approached Julie Andrews as well.
Yeah.
And she's like, no way. She didn't want to be typecast being a nanny.
Yeah, no. But he said no many times. It just puts your money up. But he meant it. He still ended up being in it.
Whereas Julie Andrews turned down the massive amount of money, Dick Van Dyke felt like he couldn't. And so he did it, but just had a horrible time. He didn't like the director. He said the director was shouting at the children.
Yeah.
And he just basically disregards it. He says they constantly were changing Roald Dahl's script.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this. I thought it was just another beloved children's classic, but apparently
It is,
isn't it? It is.
It is, but I guess it's not as perfect as Mary Poppins.
Well, she's practically perfect in every way.
She's practically perfect. Yeah. You can't compete, but because it's the same team, it's the Sherman Brothers doing all the music again and the same choreographers, but he just says there wasn't the same magic and he thinks the songs saved it. To this day, and it really is to this day, he's in this quartet. It's right at the end of his book when he's 85 and this bloke's come up to him and said, I sing with 3 blokes, do you want to sing with us? And he says, he's such a great bloke because he's open to stuff, because he says, yes, come round to my house tonight. And their voices all meld. And to this day, he's in this quartet, a vocal quartet. Yeah, but they do Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I've seen it online. It's absolutely brilliant. Just all the harmonies. It's really good. So anyway, the tunes have stayed with him. They're definitely part of his act. Anyway, there's so much to talk about.
Oh, do you know what? We're running out of time, but I also want to say quick, because he has this amazing showbiz career. But do you know what he also does? He does a lot of canvassing for politicians.
Yes.
And he really is on like the left side of history, right?
Yes,
and
he really
also
is.
when he goes to church and he wanted to do this exchange program with Africa, and some of the elders in the church said there's no way we're going to have black people in this church, so Dick Van Dyke quit that church. He's really progressive.
He is, he's one of the good guys.
Yeah, alongside this amazing career, he's actually also doing other stuff, using his voice for minorities and stuff. So, he's doing all this stuff. You know how he said that his dad was an absent dad who would work all week and then go play golf at the weekend? It actually sounds like Dick Van Dyke. He's doing so much. He's moved his family to a ranch now. So they're living in the desert, aren't they? And which is quite isolating, I imagine.
It's his wife that wants that. It's his wife that's found this 180-acre ranch. And it's like she really wants him away from Hollywood. She wants him all to herself. I don't blame her. But it's also really not understanding that when that's your world, all that performing and creating, it's who you are. You can't tear that. You can't say to someone you've got to retire. It's who they are. They will die on stage,
Oh, and then, weirdly, even though they've moved to this ranch in the middle of the desert, one day he's out on his dirt bike, scrambling around.
Yeah.
And then about 8 miles west of this ranch they bought, there just seems to weirdly be this whole complete brand new complex of sound stages and movie studios.
Yeah, just being finished. Yeah, so he goes in there, says hello, and gets a weekly sitcom, the new Dick Van Dyke Show, that they film there.
And they film it there.
Yeah.
So he can bike to work from the ranch.
Yes, bloody genius. And the wife's like, don't.
Yeah, she thought she got him away from it. 8 miles from a brand new soundstage complex.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So a couple of seasons in, he realises he has a drinking problem and he goes into rehab. And by the way, you say drinking problem, he says, I'll come home, I'll have a whiskey, then I'll have another one, and after dinner, I might have one more. You know what I mean? It's not actually as rock and roll.
He's not, but what was very interesting...
But for him it is.
Yeah.
For him it is.
This is quite a clever book because he tells us his whole career, more or less, and then he says, oh, by the way, I realised at this point I had a drinking problem. And he goes right back to the second season of the Dick Van Dyke Show. And he says that he would get home and drink, and he said he'd get so used to drinking that his body knew when it was 5 o'clock. He would then start in the afternoon when they were filming. He would be like, oh, hurry up. I need this to be over so I can go and have my drink. So actually, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, this is a couple of decades previous to him realising he's got a drinking problem. So I think it was a really slow build thing over the years, because he was not like a Hollywood hellraiser by any stretch of the imagination.
No, he really wasn't. But for him, yeah, and he said in rehab, he talked to other people, and they're obviously just drinking like 3 bottles of Jack Daniels a night. But he said it doesn't matter. It's whatever it is for each person, and for him it's a problem. He struggled with it for years after he'd gone to rehab, and after being in public and saying, I've got a problem, or even saying I'm past it, he still struggled for years on and off.
But do you know what's interesting as well? Again, he doesn't reveal until the end of the book that he says during the therapy sessions, it brought back all the fights that his parents used to have.
True.
And he said that when his dad did come home from his work trips, he would be drunk.
Yes.
Now, he never says that in any of the book until this bit where he talks about rehab.
Yeah, almost like he just buried it.
So that was always there, yeah.
That is true.
And then when he comes out of rehab, when he checks out of rehab, his wife comes to pick him up.
Checks
and he
in.
says, okay, let's go home. And she says, no, I'm checking myself in. Because she's addicted to meds.
Yeah, anxiety and depression pills. So their marriage was really going to pot, wasn't it? That's a clue.
Yeah.
It really is. So when the 3rd season of the new Dick Van Dyke Show moved to LA from this ranch area, he went with it, and they started living really separate lives. They sort of admitted it was... Well, actually, they sort of didn't admit it, but it was over. It really was over. And that's when he started hanging out with his agent's secretary, Michelle Triola, who was an ex-actress who used to go out with Lee Marvin. So she was kind of famous in her own right, but mostly famous for suing Lee Marvin for alimony or whatever it is, even though they weren't married.
Palimony, yeah. I kind of got from this book that the term palimony was coined because she took Lee Marvin to court to say, okay, we weren't married, but actually I did put my career on hold for 8 years while I was with you, so that has to stand for something.
Yes.
And that went to court for a long time.
Yeah, and she won the case, but she never got paid, so he gave her the money.
Yeah, I think that was the final straw for Margie. They didn't really talk for years after that. Mind you, he had his new wife now. So
yeah, they stayed together for 35 years. So that was the second love of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in 2007, they both, around the same time, both women died of cancer.
Oh, yeah. It was horrible. I hated reading it. It's so sad.
That is horrible. It is horrible. And he's writing this book, right? He's 85, and he said, I've got loads going on, you know, I'm a people person, so I just get out. But then I Googled him, and I found out that when he was 80, so he didn't even mention it in this book, but when he was 80, he met this makeup artist called Arlene Silver, and she was 34, and he was 80, and they got married 6 years later. So they got married a year after he wrote this book, when he was 86.
Wow.
And they're still together now. So, you know, unbeknownst to him at 80, they were together 20 years, so that's the 3rd act of his life. It's amazing, isn't it?
There's still life in the old Dick.
But you know, at 98, he got a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Performer in a Drama Series for Days of Our Lives.
Wow.
I know, I can't believe he was in that. I wish I could watch that. I would watch that if it was on here. I really would. I'd love to watch Days of Our Lives.
But he constantly worked, because he did Diagnosis Murder, which was another big hit.
Oh,
and
my
he's
God,
well into
yeah,
his
no,
70s, 80s then.
Diagnosis Murder is so funny because he keeps saying, I don't want to work, I don't want to work. And then he does this one part in this, it's something called Jake and the Fat Man, and that introduced this character, Dr. Mark Sloan. And they loved him so much in it, they ordered a pilot for a spin-off called Diagnosis Murder. Then it eventually begrudgingly agreed to do a series, which was 8 episodes. 8 seasons later, he's done 178 episodes and 5 TV films.
Wow.
And he was 66 to 76 years old. That was that period of his life, and he thought he was done. But he said, "I'll do it if you'll cast my son Barry as my TV son," which I would never have guessed because he's this real chisel-jawed, good-looking doctor-y character. And that's his son, and his grandson's in it. He gets his family in things a lot, actually. He got his brother in the Dick Van Dyke Show, didn't he? That's how he gets to see his family at work. He's in Dick Tracy. I totally forgot that.
I didn't know he was in Dick Tracy. That's amazing.
Again, I don't think I would have clocked him. He's in Night at the Museum, doing his own stunts.
Yes.
In his 80s.
Gosh.
It's just totally amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
I'll tell you what else he says. When I started in TV, you couldn't even say the word pregnant.
Wow.
I mean, his career spans the whole of the history of television.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Oh, and then he got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and they spelt his name wrong.
Yeah, they put Van Dyke as one word.
But also, they spelt Dyke wrong.
Yes.
Whose job is it? Whose job is it to do that? How could you spell anybody's name wrong?
Yeah, no, you absolute twat.
Yeah.
It's literally, you had one job.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Thrift Shop Biography. We love making this podcast, and we're absolutely thrilled that so many of you are already listening. You could really help us out by leaving us a review somewhere, wherever you listen to this podcast. And if you could share us, tell your friends about us, or drop some links on social media. We have a Facebook page called Thrift Shop Biography, so make sure you come over there to hear about the episodes first and what else we're up to. Okay, see you next week. And if you're new here, there are loads more episodes now to go and listen in the back catalogue, so make sure you go and enjoy them. Okay, thank you very much.